Howdy friends, and welcome back to Artistic Journey. Have you ever looked at a portrait and thought, wow, that looks so real? Well, I'm here to tell you, you can achieve that too. In this video, we're going to embark on a wonderful journey together, exploring 10 essential tips that will unlock the secrets to drawing lifelike portraits. So grab your pencils, and let's get started. Now, before we jump into the details, we need to build a strong foundation for our portrait, just like laying the groundwork for a beautiful cabin in the woods. A common mistake beginners make is trying to capture every detail right away. But let me tell you, starting with basic shapes is the key to success. Think of it like building a house. You start with the frame, the basic structure, and then you add the walls, windows, and all the pretty details later. Imagine the head as a gentle oval, like an egg resting peacefully. Then, lightly sketch in some guidelines, a line down the center for symmetry, a horizontal line for the eyes, and another for the nose and mouth. These guidelines are like our map, helping us place everything in its right spot. Don't worry about perfection, these are just gentle suggestions like whispering to the canvas where things should go. These basic shapes, my friends, are the backbone of our portrait. They help us establish proportions, making sure everything is in harmony. Now that we have our basic shapes in place, let's talk about proportions, the magical relationships between different parts of the face. Proportions are what make a face look believable, like the gentle balance of nature. Think of it this way, the face is like a beautiful symphony, and each feature plays its unique part. The eyes, those windows to the soul, are typically spaced one eye width apart. See how peacefully they rest within the oval of the face? It's all about finding that sweet spot, that harmonious balance. And speaking of harmony, the nose usually aligns with the corners of the eyes. It's like a gentle slope, guiding our gaze down towards the mouth. Now, these are just guidelines, my friends, not hard and fast rules, but understanding these basic proportions will help you create a portrait that feels balanced and true to life. We've laid the groundwork, established the proportions, and now it's time to breathe life into our portrait with the magic of light and shadow. Just as the sun bathes a mountain in warm light, creating depth and dimension, shading gives our drawings a sense of form and realism. Imagine a gentle light source illuminating our subject from one side. The areas closest to the light will be the brightest, while the areas further away will gradually fall into shadow. It's these transitions, these subtle shifts from light to dark, that create the illusion of 3 dimensions on a flat surface. Don't be afraid to experiment with different shading techniques. The key is to observe how light interacts with different planes of the face and to recreate those nuances on your paper. It's a dance between light and dark, creating the illusion of depth and bringing our portrait to life. The eyes, they say, are the windows to the soul, and in portrait drawing, capturing the eyes realistically is crucial for creating a truly captivating piece. We want to make our subject look alive, like they could blink at any moment. Start by observing the shape of the eye. Is it almond-shaped, round, or somewhere in between? Notice the gentle curve of the eyelid, how it drapes over the eyeball. And don't forget the tiny details like the tear duct and the eyelashes, which add a touch of delicacy to our portrait. The iris is the colored part of the eye, and the pupil is the dark center that controls how much light enters the eye. And here's a little secret. The whites of the eyes are not actually white. They pick up subtle reflections from the surroundings, so don't be afraid to add a touch of color or shading to make them look more realistic. Our journey towards realistic portraiture continues, and now it's time to focus on a detail that often gets overlooked: the skin. You see, skin isn't just a smooth, uniform surface. It has texture, subtle variations in tone and color that make it look lifelike. Think of it like a landscape painting. Just as a mountain range has peaks and valleys, the skin has pores, fine lines and wrinkles that tell a story. These details might seem insignificant, but they add a level of realism that truly brings our portrait to life. Now, we don't want to go overboard and draw every single pore. Instead, we'll use subtle shading techniques to create the illusion of texture. Imagine gently running your fingers over someone's cheek. You might feel a slight roughness, a subtle unevenness. That's what we want to capture in our drawing. Don't be afraid to experiment with different pencils and erasers to achieve the desired effect. As we journey deeper into the world of portraiture, we encounter a feature that often gets overlooked: the ears. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Bob, ears? Really? But trust me on this one, my friends. Ears play a crucial role in achieving balance and harmony in our portraits. Think of the ears as the quiet guardians of the face, framing the features and adding a sense of proportion. They might not be as attention-grabbing as the eyes or the mouth, but their absence would be sorely missed. Now, ears come in all shapes and sizes, just like happy little trees. Some are long and slender, while others are small and round, but no matter their shape, they all follow a similar structure. Imagine the letter C for the outer ear, and a smaller inverted C for the inner ear. When drawing ears, it's important to pay attention to their placement in relation to the other features. Remember, the top of the ear usually aligns with the eyebrows, while the bottom aligns with the base of the nose. We're getting closer to completing our masterpiece, and now it's time to talk about a technique that will add depth and richness to our portrait layering. Just as a landscape is made up of layers of mountains, trees, and clouds, our shading should also be built up gradually, layer by layer. Think of it like painting a happy little cloud. We wouldn't just use one shade of white, we'd use a variety of tones and hues to create a sense of volume and depth. The same principle applies to shading. Start with a light touch, using a hard pencil to lay down the basic shadows. Then gradually increase the pressure and switch to softer pencils as you build up the darker tones. Don't be afraid to overlap your strokes and to blend them together to create smooth transitions. Layering takes time and practice, but the results are well worth the effort. With each layer, our portrait will gain more depth, dimension, and realism. Now, some folks might think that using references is like cheating, but let me tell you, my friends, even the most experienced artists rely on references to improve their work. Think of it like this. References are like having a friendly guide on our artistic journey, helping us navigate the tricky terrain of portraiture. When you use a reference, you're not simply copying a photo. You're observing, analyzing, and interpreting the subject in your own unique way. You're training your eye to see the subtle nuances of light, shadow, and form. Now you can use any reference you like, a photograph, a live model, even a mirror reflection. The important thing is to choose a reference that inspires you, that speaks to your artistic soul. And don't be afraid to experiment with different angles and lighting setups. We're in the home stretch now, my friends, and our portrait is really starting to come together. But before we call it a masterpiece, let's add those final, delicate touches that will make it truly shine. It's the little things, the subtle details that often make the biggest difference. Think of it like adding those last few happy little trees to a landscape painting. They might seem insignificant on their own, but together they create a sense of depth, texture, and life. Look closely at your reference photo. What details stand out to you? Perhaps it's the way the light catches the corner of the mouth, creating a subtle highlight. Or maybe it's the delicate wrinkles around the eyes, hinting at a lifetime of laughter and smiles. Well, my friends, we've reached the end of our journey together, and I hope you've enjoyed exploring the wonderful world of portraiture with me. Remember, the most important thing is to keep practicing. Just like any skill, drawing takes time and patience to master. Don't get discouraged if your first few attempts don't turn out exactly as you'd hoped. Every artist starts somewhere, and every stroke of the pencil, every smudge of the finger, is a learning opportunity. Embrace your mistakes, learn from them, and keep on drawing. Think of it like tending to a garden. You wouldn't expect a beautiful flower to bloom overnight, would you? It takes time, care, and consistent effort. The same is true for art. The more you practice, the more confident and skilled you'll become. Portrait drawing can be challenging, but with these 10 tips, you'll be able to create realistic faces with confidence. Each stroke of your pencil is a step forward on your artistic journey. Which tip will you try first? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more art tips and tutorials on Artistic Journey.